One Piece. Story was made by Eiichiro Oda. Chapter 18, Buggy the Clown Pirate. The battleground was strewn with fallen bodies, each pirate defeated or rendered unconscious, except for one figure lying on the ground. Zoro appeared surprisingly at ease as he peacefully slept amidst the chaos. Luffy approached the pirate known as Buggy with a curious expression on his face. "Red-haired?" Luffy questioned with intrigue. "Do you know Shanks?" Buggy pondered the question, his gaze fixed on the straw hat in Luffy's possession. "What's this? It seems you're quite interested," Buggy replied. "I do know him, but why do you want to know?" Unyielding in his pursuit, Luffy pressed further. "Where is he now?" Buggy chuckled mischievously, his hand still caressing his chin. "Where? Well, if I knew, then I know," he hinted playfully, a smile creeping onto his face. "And if I don't know, then I could also not know anything at all." Luffy's casual expressed himself. "What are you even saying?" he asked. "Are you an idiot?" Buggy's temper flared, his patience running thin. "What do you mean, idiot, you uncivilized buffoon?" he shouted with rage. Drawing his knives menacingly on the gaps of his fingers, he confronted Luffy. "I'm saying that I'm not a nice enough guy to tell you information that you want to know, even if it's your last wish before you die." Luffy clenched his fist. "Then let me make you say it by force," he declared, readying himself for a fight. Buggy laughed heartily, his red clown shoes stomping against the ground. As he did, blades sprung out from his footwear. "Before you hear it, you're going to be dead," Buggy warned, a smirk playing on his lips. "Even though you're made of rubber, there are still some things that won't bounce off you." "That's right," Luffy nodded. Buggy braced himself, taking a fighting stance. "Bara Bara no! Windmill!" he shouted, sending his lower half spinning toward Luffy with deadly intent. Reacting swiftly, Luffy leapt into the air, narrowly evading the attack as it whizzed past him. Seeing Luffy airborne, Buggy pointed accusingly. "Moving here and there in the air is most likely impossible," he exclaimed, launching a barrage of knives in Luffy's direction. However, Luffy, utilizing his rubber-like abilities, stretched his arm towards a lamppost attached to a nearby building. "Why not?" he smirked, pulling himself out of harm's way with a deft maneuver. Amused by Luffy's resilience, Buggy retorted, "So you can do things like that? How interesting!" His eyes locked with Luffy's, the two pirates prepared for their clash. Luffy responded with a confident smile. "You're an interesting person, too. Gomu Gomu no pistol!" he exclaimed, launching a powerful punch towards Buggy. With agility, Buggy moved to the side, sightly, seizing the opportunity to strike at Luffy's stretched arm. However, his focus on the arm made him unaware of Luffy's continued momentum as the punch stretched past him. "An arm that's stretched to its limit is full of weaknesses. I'll tear it to shreds," Buggy declared as he aimed his blade directly at his extended arm. In a surprising turn of events, Luffy grabbed hold of a windowsill, using it as leverage for another attack. "Gomu Gomu no! Scythe!" he shouted, launching himself forward. Buggy swiftly activated his Bara Bara no emergency escape, his head detaching from his body to evade the attack. Luffy's assault ended with a crashing impact as he crashed into the ruins of a nearby house. Buggy reconnected his head to his body, laughing at Luffy's perceived weakness. "You're not much of a threat, Gomu Gomu," he taunted. Emerging from the rubble unscathed, Luffy leaped back into action. "Damn! Separating into sections," he pondered, assessing the situation with a determined gaze. Nami, having successfully stolen the treasure, watched the scene unfold from a safe distance, her heart pounding in disbelief at the sheer power and intensity of the fight. How is it possible for such a fight?" she pondered to herself, barely. "I feel as though I'm dreaming." Elsewhere, some of Buggy's remaining crew members, scattered among the rubbled remains of a once lively pub, began to exchange hushed whispers. "Hey, did you just see that?" one pirate murmured. "Idiot! Pretend you fainted!" the second pirate hissed, his voice filled with fear. "We've got no chance of living if we get caught up in a fight like that." Not noticing their whispers, Buggy launched another vicious attack, his voice booming through the chaos. "Bara Bara no cannon!" he proclaimed, his arm shot like a gun with 3 deadly knives holding on to it. Swiftly, Luffy grabbed the hand just in time, but Buggy wasn't finished yet. "Separate!" he shouted as he detached half of hand. Luffy managed to evade the initial strike, but one of the knives grazed the side of his face, leaving a deep gash. To his horror, the blow also pierced his beloved straw hat. Falling to the ground, blood trickling from his wound, he glared at Buggy with anger. "You bastard!" Luffy growled. Buggy, reveling in his victory, couldn't resist mocking his wounded opponent. "What? So you're pissed that your face is scarred?" he sneered with a cruel, sadistic smirk. Luffy's eyes burned with rage as he clutched his hat tightly in his hands. "How dare you mess up this hat?" he bellowed. "This is my treasure. I will never forgive anyone who messes up this hat." Nami, hidden in the background, watched with wide eyes as Luffy's emotions overflowed. She recalled how he had mentioned that the straw hat was a gift from a dear friend, and she couldn't help but be surprised at the depth of his attachment to it. "I thought he was the type of guy who wasn't bothered by anything," she mused to herself, "but he looks really furious now." Buggy, sensing an opportunity to taunt Luffy further, pressed on. "Is the hat that precious to you?" he jeered. "Yeah, you bastard!" Luffy roared, his fists clenched tightly, ready to strike back. But before Luffy could make his move, Buggy's detached hand floated behind him. Luffy's instincts kicked in, and he leapt away, narrowly avoiding the attack while desperately protecting his treasured hat. His hand aimed directly towards the straw hat, as Buggy relishes in his sadistic triumph, gloating, "If it's that precious to you, then why don't you protect it properly?" In that moment, everything seemed to darken for Luffy, as the knives collided at the top of his straw hat. The world around him faded as he was consumed by his memories. He remembered the promise he had made to Shanks, the one who had gifted him this very hat. The weight of that promise and the significance of the hat became clear in his mind. As Buggy collected his dismembered hand, he held the hat up, the knives piercing through the worn fabric. Luffy's heart pounded in his chest as the memories flooded back. This hat was Shanks' favorite hat, his mentor and his inspiration. Luffy had vowed to return it to him when he became a great pirate himself. Enraged, Luffy declared, "That's the hat I swore myself with Shanks," as he dashed towards him. The intensity of his words startled even Buggy, who suddenly felt a twinge of regret. "What? This is Shanks's hat?" Buggy exclaimed, his voice tinged with surprise. "I thought it looked familiar." He spat on the hat. "Me and that guy used to be in the same pirate ship. To rephrase that, he was my comrade when we were still pirate trainees." Luffy's eyes burned with rage. "Shanks is a great man," he declared. "You say that he was your comrade?" With a burst of adrenaline, he lunged forward, his fist aimed squarely at Buggy's face. But Buggy, ever the opportunist, knew when to retreat. He activated his Bara no emergency escape, separating his head from his body and cackling with laughter. However, Luffy's rage was unstoppable. With a powerful surge of strength, he landed a furious punch directly into Buggy's stomach, causing the detached head to cry out in pain.